Okay, today's morning medicine is Asarum Europeum. Payum? Europeum. Anyways, Asarum Europeum. I don't know why they gotta make these words so weird. That, of course, is the herbal term for European snake root, Europeum. Europeum. Okay, so Asarum Europeum. Sorry about all that. Hazelwood. Wow, Nash. Oh, this is all. I don't want to read that. Okay, folklore. Before Hahnemann's time, so before they were proven, Asarum was little known except as an emetic. Uh, what is an emetic? I forget. Anyways, uh, purges things out is what I'm understanding it as. In his provings brought to light some unique characteristics cold air and cold washing ameliorate. So they want they want to get out into cold air. They want to any part that's affected, especially the face, if it's washed with cold water, helps. With a single dose of Asarum Europaeum, 200C, Clark cured a case of subacute inflammation of eyes and lids, which had lasted some months after an attack of influenza. So this guy had the flu, this person, don't know who it was, had the flu, and then for months later, they had their eyes were just inflamed. The indication being better in open air and by washing in cold water. So that's why I say that's like a keynote for this medicine. So other ones, inflammation of the eyes, Eupatorium purr. There's a few of them like that, but Asarum europaeum was better by washing, with cold water. It is useful for darting pains remaining after operations on the eyes. So any, and I would think again, Eupatorium purr. There's probably other ones with hypericum, things like that for darting pains after an operation of the eye. The Shire, which is a homeopath, reports a case of dysmenorrhea, which is in a nervous, fidgety woman of 27. So dysmenorrhea is very painful menses. A lot of times it confines a woman to their bed who had intense backache, and that's what it's mainly from, is the backache during first 2 days. So severe that she could not move. So that's, yeah, she's confined to bed. This dysmenorrhea can be a real problem for ladies. It often rose to the dorsal region up the back, that's that whole back area, when it would take away her breath. So she had a hard time breathing, as this went on. Cured with Asarum Europaeum 50C, one dose every evening. So every evening she'd take one dose of a 50C. That's an odd. We have 30C, 200C. This one was in between of 50C. Now, how he settled on that, it's hard to say. Even a lot of homeopaths will ask, well, what dose? What what potency? They would ask, what potency do I give? And a lot of times, it is the fact that one potency, like a 200, may be too much and aggravate, or may help but not be the right uh, dosage, potency, sorry, and you back off to a 30 and it works better, or you go higher to a, 1M or something. You don't have to go that high, but, uh, you know, and down to a 6C, a 6C, a 30C, a 200C. So, yeah, the idea is uh, the potency is a vibration, and a certain vibration will react with a certain person. Now, is it and I hear them all say, what potency, what potency? Well, I take whatever potency I have and I utilize it in water. And that usually, as you keep dosing, you're increasing it a little bit, but as you keep dosing, that keeps um, the patient from antidoting it. So what happens is a lot of times if you do, they used to give high doses and it can be antidoted. Now they'd get really aggravated, but something can antidote it. Whereas instead, you basically give a lower dose and you give it repeatedly. Now, even a low dose can be 30 or 200, depending on the person. If they're hypersensitive, a 30 or 200 could be more aggravating to a hypersensitive. So that's the only things you got to be careful of, is whether they're hypersensitive, a lot of allergies, a lot of issues in that, whether they, you know, what potency you're giving. You know, if they can antidote it, then, you know, if you give a sugar tablet under the tongue and they go drink coffee, and that can, if that is the antidote to this medicine, because there's a few antidotes. Coffee isn't always an antidote. You could stick a medicine in coffee to have someone drink it, and, you know, yeah. So anyways, um, you basically I usually put it into water, and that's where the LMs came in. Hahnemann started putting everything in that water, and the LMs are made totally different. They're deeper acting, and they go LM1, LM2, LM3 instead of a 6C to a 30C to a 100C. He wanted to start at a 1, which is those LMs are deeper acting. He'd start at a 1, and then a 2, then a 3, then a 4, and, you know, eventually it hit on one that is really reacting good. It doesn't stop reacting, so then he sticks with that one. So their nervous constitution suitable to people with sedentary habits, who don't get around and move much, who shrink from cold or always feel cold. Sedentary people are sick and chilly. So a sick and chilly person. It's good for alcoholics too. Alcoholism, as you'll see. Boy, I don't want to knock things over. Asarum Europeaeum. That's Paeum. Is that, how would you say it? European snake root for Asarum Europeum. Hypersensitive nerves. That's a 3. That's a big one, and that would help you to distinguish between one medicine to another. This person, their nerves are like on the end of their skin. They just can't take things. They can't take scratching on silk or linen. Anybody scratching their fingers, or whether it's on their skin, that would feel uncomfortable, I'd imagine. Rattling papers. Rattling papers will drive them out of their mind. If someone's always moving papers and rattling them, that would drive them crazy. Always feels cold, so that's that chilly part of it. Thinks she is gliding through air. That's a 3. So they feel like they're floating. These are all, feels like they're floating. I think I may have done this medicine before, so that may be, I don't know of too many of them that have that sensation. So if you're determining between some and they have that, then Asarum Europeum would be good. All right, so better cold bathing of face or affected parts. So any parts that are affected, especially the face, they do a cold bathing of it. It settles down whatever the situation is going on. Worse, cold, dry weather. Penetrating noise. So any noise that just is, like right now we got crickets going. That might drive this patient out of their mind. You know, that's a 3. That penetrating noise. Emotions, worse emotions and worse retching. Like they want to throw up. They're always like wanting to throw up. So this person is very sensitive. They're hypersensitive, so you really want to be careful with the potency you're giving this one. And that's, they don't have, seem like they don't have allergies, but they are hypersensitive to feelings and, different stuff, sounds and stuff like that. Thoughts vanish, feeling of lightness of floating. So they'll be talking and then all of a sudden they won't have thoughts. They'll be like, I forgot what I was saying. So the Asarum Europeum could be one that's good for them. Okay, this is big in the mind. Sensibility increased, even from mere imagination. So even if they imagine they're hearing a sound, or they're somebody's rattling papers, or they imagine something, this scratching of silk or linen. I imagine a chalkboard would drive them out of their mind. But even if they imagine it, it makes them nuts. Cold shivers from emotions. So emotional stuff comes on them. They have emotional upset and they just get cold shivers from it. Oppression around navel. Pain in ascending colon with discharge. Mucus is stringy. So stringy mucus coming, uh, I guess, out of the anus, basically. Let's see, rectum. Strings of odorless yellow mucus. Yeah. So why they got it up in the abdomen? I guess because the abdomen's what's being affected to cause this yellow mucus, stringy mucus. Yeah, kitty cat, you're not coming in now. Paralytic pain and muscles of nape of neck, weakness with staggering. So, I always say, wake up and say, man, I must have slept wrong. My neck is stiff. So that could be a whole different situation. It's not you slept wrong. It's because you got something coming on, a cold, a flu, or whatever. And they have weakness and staggering. That might be why they're sedentary. They don't feel like getting up and doing nothing because they feel so weak and they kind of stagger because of the weakness. Sharp pressure in she's out there crying. Sharp pressure in last rib like a knife. So the last rib down there, and it doesn't say right or left, but they have this sharp knife-like pain in there. Pain in lungs like constricted by a wire. And this whole medicine has constriction around the head, constriction like a wire. What is the other? There's another one that's constriction. Head, uh, lungs, and well, we'll get to it. I think there's another one, but there's a lot of constriction. Feels like there's a pressure pressing around it. Painfully sensitive hearing. So that's another sensitivity with their hearing. Listen, cat, cut it out. Catarrh with deafness. So they've got mucus coming out of the ear with the deafness. Heat of external part of the ear, and they hear noises. So they have very sensitive hearing, sensitive touch, sensitive, they're just sensitive to all kinds of stimulus like that. Watering, burning, worse sunlight, and wind in the eyes. So uh, this is a great eye remedy, for a lot of things. Watery burning. So they're watering and they're burning, and especially worse from the sunlight and the wind. Any wind or sunlight, they really burn and water. Asteno, estenop, estenopia, estenopia. I think that's what it is. Eye strain. So basically, why don't they? The word's just as long as saying eye strain. So they have a real problem with eye strain, darting pain after operation. So any operations to the eye, you might want to consider our Asarum Europeaeum. Face has a warm feeling, better by cold bathing. That's it for the face. Menses are too early and long and black. So they're real dark menses and they come on early. They last a long time. And the real problem with it is they have violent pain in the small of the back. Uh, that's at the appearance of menses. When the menses come on, they have this back pain, and it affects the breathing because it kind of goes up the whole back, and they have a worse problem breathing. And this pain is worse by motion. They have tenacious yellow leukorrhea, so you'll notice there's a lot of yellow. This could be liver and kidney type of stuff going on, uh, but they have yellow leukorrhea, and you'll notice they'll have yellow mucus out of the rectum. One of appetite. So this woman has a dysmenorrhea. They have very bad uh, uh, periods, menses. Threatened abortion from excessive sensibility of nerves. So that's why their nerves are on end, and it kind of they're so sensitive that it threatens an abortion when they're pregnant. One of appetite, even nauseated by food. So they don't want to eat. So this could be anorexia, bulimia, one of these things. Uh, but their appetite's gone and they're nauseated by food. If they smell food or they come up to food or they want to eat food, they're just nauseated. Craving for alcohol. That's a 3. That's why I say this is great for people who have alcohol problems. Asarum Europeaeum. Not saying it's a fix-all, but there's a couple of them that have, can be used for alcohol. Smoking tobacco tastes bitter. Compressive headache. So there's that compression again. Compression around the lungs like a wire. compressive headache, like something squeezing it, tension on the whole scalp, so the whole scalp feels tense. Can't bear combing their hair, so they're so sensitive they can't even comb their hair, and hair is painful. China has that symptom. So if you're looking at, they got catarrh out of the ear, they can't take noises, they can't take, they're sensitive to all kinds of things. They feel like they're gliding, and their hair's painful on all that. China and Asarum Europeaeum are two remedies that could be good for that. And these other things I mentioned could help you to choose between China and Europeaeum. Coryza with sneezing. So they got a lot of mucus in the nose with a lot of sneezing going on. Lightness of all limbs. So that's that floating sensation. Gurgling sensation in patella. That's the knee. The fluid in the knee feels like it's gurgling. Weakness with staggering. So anybody has this gurgling with patella in the patella, you may, instead of going getting arthroscopic surgery and stuff like that, you may just, give us a serum europeum, and that could clear it all up. Now you need to, could be a couple medicines for that, but you need to use some of the other symptoms to, choose between them. Weakness and staggering in the limbs. There's that weakness and staggering again, like in the back, in the limbs. Lungs, nervous hacking cough. So and when they say nervous, this person's overall nervous, but they have a hacking cough. Short respiration, so they can't take really deep breaths. That from that wire feels like it's constricted around the lungs, so they're not taking deep breaths, they're taking real short breaths. Asthmatic breathing, worse odors and cold. So this person could be have an asthma problem, and they can't stand that it comes on when there's odors and any kind of cold weather and stuff. Accumulation of cold, watery saliva in the mouth with nausea. So it's like they're nauseous and they got that retching going on, and they got this. The saliva is cold and watery. Clean tongue. So that's interesting because usually the tongue has something on it. You'd think there'd be some yellow or something, but it's a clean tongue, and the mouth is disgusting, has a disgusting taste in it. They just don't have, what was that taste in the mouth? Food. Anyways, they have a disgusting taste in their mouth. Might be why they have no appetite. Uh, Carising with sneezing. There it is again. Why is it up here in the head? So that's where the head stuff is. So basically they got stuffed nose. A lot of carising, sneezing. With that, that might be why they got that compressive headache, and that carising sneezing is, coryza is a thick mucus, not a watery one. Strings of odorless yellow mucus pass from bowels. Strings has a 3. There's no odor to it, and it's yellow. Undigested food in stool. So they must be not chewing enough and eating enough, but that food is not being digested. That's a 3. Prolapsed rectum, so rectum feels like it's falling out, and mucus and colitis. So they probably have that disease colitis in the stomach, and that's why they're having all these problems with their bowels. Great drowsiness by day, restless sleep at night, flatulence, belching and vomiting. So they got a lot of gas. They're whether it's belching or farting, which is what flatulence is, and vomiting. So they're vomiting. Horrible feeling at epigastrium. So that's the lower part of the stomach on waking and morning. Uh, Stomach, alcoholic with stomach. So of course they're going to have stomach problems from drinking alcohol. Vomits and retches. There's a lot of vomiting and retching with this. Better by temperature, chilliness. Single parts get cold, not better by covering. So they get chilling. They're chilly and they cover up and they're still not better. But anytime they sweat, it's real sour smelling. Sensation as she is gliding through the air. That's that vertigo. There's no throat stuff. So yeah, they feel like they're gliding or floating. great faintness in elderly people with weak constitutions. So they want to, they're dizzy all the time. They have great faintness and they have a very weak constitution. Now, old folk with good constitution, they don't have that weakness and dizziness going on. My dad had that, but doctors were giving them pills that had two prostate pills, and one was making them dizzy. They just, it's a shame we allow ourselves to have drugs pushed on us, just like we allow ourselves. And I've been considering the amount of our food. It says, oh, they figured out that you can lose weight rather than using Ozempic and all these other drugs that you're shooting yourself with. Instead of doing that, you can lose weight by eliminating. You can use, I think they said 30 pounds by eliminating ultra processed foods. And they said cereal is an ultra processed food, which it is. Potato chips, cereal, a lot of these burgers and stuff from these fast foods, ultra processed. What other things? So there's a lot of ultra processed foods that we eat that is making us sick. So then once we get sick, then we need to go on things like Ozempic or some diabetic drugs or some different things. Even when you go to a restaurant, some of it may be good, but there's so much stuff they put in there. It's not good for you. So we've been hijacked, and that we've really been hijacked because uh, fructose corn syrup is very cheap to make, and it's horrible for you. It burns holes in your stomach. It hijacks your brain with the sugar stuff, and you're addicted. We're addicted to sugar. So instead of now that's why Kennedy, he's starting into this, get rid of the dyes that make the food look better. Get rid of, he's talking about ultra processed foods, and that's all good. What's his name in New York trying to do it with the soda pops. Now, soda pops, there's an ultra processed sugary thing that people should not be taking. But we've got, I sit up here and watch TV with my folks, and all these, there's a pizza commercial. Oh, I say, I'm getting hungry. Then there's a hamburger commercial. Oh, I'm getting hungry again. Then there's a soda pop commercial. Then there's a drug commercial in between, another drug commercial, then a food commercial, so we're being inundated with this stuff. And if you try to feed someone normal food, they're like, ugh, that tastes horrible. That's because it doesn't have their usual sugar in it. Anyways, off that soapbox, Asarum Europeaeum, sensation as though whole body or single parts were being pressed together. Oh, before I get into that, I was reading a book that they were talking about, what's it called? Nutrient. I don't know. It's like a medical thing where they're just using nutrients. So the lady was having bad periods, this dysmenorrhea. B6, pyroxin, I think it's called, but B6 cleared that up. Now a lot of other vitamins were missing from the foods. Now they say, oh, in this cereal we injected all this vitamins in it. That's probably not the way you should get it. When you eat a carrot or you eat a regular food, it doesn't have a ton of the vitamin in it, but it's mixed with other vitamins and it's useful. So when you take one vitamin, you need another one to make that vitamin useful. Just like turmeric. Turmeric is great for rheumatism. But if you add pepper into that turmeric, now it's much more effective. All right, so let's get into Asarum Europeum. That's a whole nother subject. There is my, the health coaching part of it. You can eliminate a lot of the diseases and the need for homeopathic medicine if you start taking control of your health. Sensation in what you eat. Sensation as though whole body or single parts were being pressed together. So that's that constriction, like the wire around the lungs, the compression around the head. Pain as from contraction in forehead. So there's that pressure there, or that contraction. Temples and behind ear with watering and burning of eyes. Worse in the afternoon. So there's that burning and watering in the eyes with the headache, the contraction in the temples. Better when sitting and washing. So all these things, it's worse in the afternoon, but it's better by washing and sitting down. Eyes inflamed, bleared, staring, weak sight, worse bright light. When reading, sensation as if eyes would be pressed asunder. There's that pressure, and this is from reading this time. Sensation of skin stretched over right external ear. So the right ear feels like there's skin stretched over it. That gives them deafness. Plugged sensation, pressure, tension, and contractive sensation are leading features of Asarum Europeaeum. So any kind of pressure, tension, and all that, you right away think of this medicine, Asarum Europeaeum. Accumulation of cold, watery saliva in mouth. And that comes with not retching and nausea and vomiting and all that. Hunger in early morning, constant nausea. Now that what kind of symptom is that? Everybody's kind of hungry in the morning. I'm really not. I don't eat until about 11. So I do a guy was talking about fasting and how but I said, well, my fasting is from 6 at night till about 11 in the morning, So what is that, a 16-hour fast? So after 12 hours, now you start eating the fat. Your body starts utilizing the fat. Constant nausea. And I'll take a walk because you want to get your metabolism moving before you start eating. So whether you exercise, I take a walk with the dog, and then I come back and eat. Vomiting with diarrhea and violent colic. So this is like in a cholera. This could be cholera situation, vomiting with diarrhea and violent colic, or this could just be because they have the colic or colitis or whatever going on in their stomach. Stools of jelly-like mucus, and of course, like I said, it's yellow jelly-like mucus. Menstrual colic. So when they have menstrual, they have all that stomach issues going on. Violent pain in small of back, which scarcely permits her to breathe. So that's, this dysmenorrhea these a lady has can be really painful. In this one they can hardly breathe, so it usually lays them up for a few days. And that's at the beginning of the menses. Imagine later on it settles down, but when them menses are coming on, they're okay. Then the menses come on, and they get this terrible back pain, which even is a problem for them to breathe. Asarum Europeum could be considered. Now, like I said, B6 could be it's called peroxine, which is the chemical name, I guess, for it. But B6 would help with any woman having dysmenorrhea. And you want to get, I don't know what size doses they give of that, but you want to give a high dose. And the lady would take it. The one case that the guy gave, the lady would take it nightly. And when she would quit taking it, that problems would come back. So heat, especially of face and in palms of hands. When retching, all symptoms worse except dullness of the head, which is better. So when they're throwing up or they're retching, they're like, they want to throw up. The headache gets better, but all other symptoms get worse, like the stomach and all that stuff. So this medicine has a lot of constriction, yellow coming out of the vagina, the anus, a lot of colic going on there, some nose stuff. They got this headache from this compressive headache from corizon the nose, corizon sneezing, and they're hypersensitive to their nerves are. They can't stand anybody scratching on silk or linen. If it was a chalkboard they were scratching on, that would drive them out of their mind, rattling papers. So they have noises that make them sensitive. Sensibility is increased by just imagining that they're hearing these sounds. Craving for alcohol, big one for that. And this will help. There's a couple medicines that help stop the craving for alcohol. You'd have to choose according to what else is going on with this person. And they feel like they're floating. This is like they're just feel like they're floating above the earth. A lot of flatulent belching, so there's a lot of stomach stuff. And this, uh, they can't comb their hair. The hair's painful. That's a China and Asarum Europeum would be considered. So, um, Yeah, and in my community, if you come in there, this all might sound technical and all that stuff, but if you come into my community, you'll find that, you can come in, look at all this, I got some, other than this stuff, I've got some PDFs and stuff you can look at for free. It's all free. And if you have questions, you can put in questions and I can answer you by typing in. I don't usually answer all the social media stuff because you never know what's going on there. There's all kinds of people, stuff's getting hacked and it's not really them and that. So in my community, I can interact with people that I know are normal. They're not a bot, AI bot or anything like that. So that is morning medicine, or Arum, Europeum. I think I finally said it right. Aesculus incarnata, which is swamp milkweed, milkweed in the swamp. I did milkweed yesterday, and I wanted to show you one. Maybe I'll remember today. Forgot to show you what milkweed was. So, all right, that is morning medicine. You can age, but you don't have to get old.